Just a few housekeeping rules before we get our first presentations underway. First of all, could you please make sure that your mobile phones are switched off right now, so please turn them off and keep them turned off during sessions. Smoking, you're not allowed to smoke inside the Darling Harbour venue, but there are areas outside for smokers and lawyers available for the passive smokers. And just two more housekeeping rules. The first one is the applause rule. Generally what happens at events like this is people come up onto stage and they get a very polite but subdued round of applause. We want to try and create as much atmosphere in here as we can. So when I do bring a speaker up onto stage, or including in your workshops, give them one of those totally wild and over-the-top American talk show, Jerry Springer style rounds of applause, just to make them feel welcome and create a little bit of atmosphere, almost as if we're sort of Jerry Springer show meets Barmy Army, and go a little bit over the top. With the exception of the back row of tables, what I'm going to ask our back row of tables to do is not just applaud, but could you also chant the person's name over and over again as they come up to stage. Let's have a little bit of a practice. Let's assume that our keynote address this morning was being given by one of our planners, Steve Lennon. Steve is in the house. Steve, if you could just stand up. Let's assume that Steve was coming up here. That's the idea. All right, so then Steve would come up here and give his keynote address entitled "Why Life Insurance Turns Me On," and we would all obviously be riveted, and he would regale us with tales of what a wonderfully exciting place Inverell is. So keep in the back of your minds, we want to give as much applause as we can. One final piece of housekeeping before we get underway, and that is to get everybody in the room to take the Advice Day Out oath. Could you please stand up just for a moment, ladies and gentlemen? To take the Advice Day Out oath, we raise our right hand in the air like so. Place your left hand on your wallet and repeat loudly after me, please. I swear more often than I probably should. I also promise that at all times today I will pretend to be extremely interested in everything that our presenters say, because they are very interesting and knowledgeable people. So help me, Sally. Amen. You can be seated. All right. Look, speaking of Sally and all of our presenters, what I've done is I've had a chat with all of our presenters, been in touch with them before the Advice Day Out, and asked them a whole range of questions about who they are and what their interests are outside of work, and I will share that information with you when I introduce them, so that you'll come to know them not just as gurus of the industry, but as people who have lives outside of work as well. So let's start with the General Manager Advice, Sally Herman. Sally joined the BT executive team in July last year, heading up the advice business, but first joined Westpac over 10 years ago. She was born on the 5th of March in a year, well, let's just say that it's a year that I'm way too polite to mention in public. I will say that it was the same year that the Treasurer Peter Costello was born. It was the same year that Princess Caroline of Monaco and Robert D. Costello were all born. That's not giving too much away, I hope, Sally. It was the same year that the Frisbee was first sold. It was the year that the West Side Story musical opened on Broadway, and the year of the 1957 federal election. When not doing things to do with BT and Westpac, Sally likes reading, going to the theatre, listening to Jack Johnson and spending time with her 8-year-old son. She's also into flexing and fitness-related things like yoga, jogging and skiing, but not all at the same time. You might be surprised to know that Sally has also done 10 Sydney to Hobarts. Admittedly, though, by plane. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not dilly-dally, let's welcome Sally Herman!